we have a quarterback commitment to the portal, which very strange timing for that. Jake Garcia, former 4-star recruit, was at Miami, was at Missouri, was at East Carolina last year. He is now going to Michigan, which makes me wonder what is the deal now in Michigan's quarterback room, because obviously we know that Bryce Underwood's probably the starter. We talked to Chris Ballas about that last week. It was originally going to be Mikey Keene probably until Underwood was ready. Keene got hurt. Underwood was the guy through spring practice. It looks like Underwood's the guy. This makes you wonder, like, are Keene or Davis Warren maybe not going to be ready at the beginning of the season, and Michigan needs a backup right now?
Yeah, it's an interesting addition because I don't think that anybody's under the illusion that Garcia is going to play, right? Like, that's not, so it's a depth
or come in to start, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So if it's a depth play, why do they need depth if Mikey Keene is healthy?
Yeah. So it might be that there's been a setback or there's been some other issues, but that is the question. And I mean, does that change anything about how you feel about Michigan? Because I don't know, for me, Ari, I'm just looking at it being cautiously optimistic that with Underwood, they're going to have a more functional passing offense. So, as we talked about with Chris Ballas last week, they don't really have a lot of receivers that we know about right now that wow you. Now, there may be some young guys that step in and become that, but they don't bring back a ton in the receiving core that scares you.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I think is kind of interesting about this more than anything is that, like, Jake Garcia was once a top 50 recruit. And I know that he has been to 3 schools now, and this is his 4th.
Yep.
So I think a lot of people will punt on the notion that, like, this guy can play at a high level. But I wonder if this too is just like a nice insurance policy depth play with some, what Michigan views as some upside, where, you know, you have somebody who might be able to take some snaps if you get to that point. But I don't know that this changes anything. Like, my whole thought process with Michigan is I can't wait to see Underwood play, and Michigan's offense will go with their freshmen. Like, is that where you are? That's where I am.
Oh yeah, that's exactly where I am. And the thing is, like, I suspect they're going to be able to run the ball very well, which I think should take some pressure off Underwood and should take some pressure off those receivers, because they're going to get some one-on-one matchups on the outside. Because if you're defending Michigan, you're dealing with a bunch of heavy sets. They're still going to be able to smash you up front. They're going to have good backs. So I do think with someone who is more dynamic at quarterback, and you know, that was what Chris Ballas said. Everything we heard about Bryce Underwood through his recruitment is he has incredible arm talent. That's not what Michigan had last year. So if they are similar in terms of how they can run the ball to last year, that should make life pretty easy for Underwood in terms of getting started. And like, you don't have to turn him into Superman right off the bat. He just has to be able to complete some passes early and then get comfortable, and then you start unleashing all that he can do.
Yeah. Also, too, we have some Michigan fans on the chat, and I actually had this thought before that they brought this up, but, like, is Jake Garcia already better than the quarterbacks they had on the roster a year ago?
I don't know. I mean, he lost his job at East Carolina. Caden Hauser took over midseason last year. So I don't know that he's better than what they had, but clearly they feel like he gives them depth and helps them. It's weird. It's a weird thing. And I know you've talked about this before. You've got this thing where if somebody's been a high-level recruit, you just will not let it go. And the possibility is always there that they'll suddenly shine. I think after 3 schools, you kind of know where somebody is.
Yeah, you're probably right. For me, I get fixated on high-level recruits because high-level recruits have high-level traits. And I'm always like a big traits guy. You don't get to be a top 50 player or top 50, overall player or top 100 or wherever he ended up. I know that his rankings changed a lot but he was a big get when Miami got him. by not having a good arm and good physical traits. So I always wonder. I mean, like the thing is, like if the man can't play at all, which his resume would show that he can't, then like what's Michigan doing, right? Just adding a body.
Well, it sounds like they may need to if there's an issue, but yeah, so Jake Garcia, by the way, if the name sounds familiar to you from the recruiting process, he is the one who in 2020 his parents legally separated so he could transfer to play at a school in Georgia, and I think
was he committed to Georgia at one point, or am I imagining that?
I cannot remember if he was committed to Georgia at any point. I thought Miami was the first school he committed to. His recruitment was very heavily covered, and he was I believe he was from California. He went to one school in Georgia, and then he was going to go to another school in Georgia, and that's where that came from. But it was one of those stories like, hey, that's kind of weird. Like the parents are legally separating, what? And it was to.
Oh, he's committed to USC, not Georgia.
It was USC. Okay,
yeah,
it was USC.
Yeah, I knew he was
committed
committed somewhere else because it was a big deal when he flipped. I thought to Miami.
Yeah. But so it's one of those things that, like, what a strange. I kind of want to have Jake Garcia on the show and just talk about his journey through college football. Like, what a strange journey. Like when you lose the job at East Carolina last year, like, and somebody tells you you're going to play for Michigan next year, you'd be like, what are you, nuts?
Well, just so you know, offer list for Jake Garcia out of high school was Georgia, Florida, LSU, USC, Florida State, Tennessee.
Oh, everybody wanted the
Alabama.
Guy.
Yeah. Alabama, Miami, Texas. So he I mean, like everybody liked him. So
yeah,
and from a quarterback perspective, that means you had something in the tank. I don't know if it's all gone or what goes on. The thing that I think is interesting is when everybody, like Nick Saban offered this man, okay? So if everybody, including Nick Saban, thought he was good enough to come to their school, I am always very shocked when like they can't thrive at East Carolina. That's right. Not kind of wrong. And so maybe something else went off the rails there. Well, usually it may be that you have to get an Alabama offer would equate to you being a pretty high level, lower tier college quarterback.
But at quarterback, the traits that get you the offer don't necessarily make you a star in college. When you jump up a level, the game goes faster, it gets more difficult. And so sometimes the quarterbacks just can't jump that level. And you see it from college to pro too. So that may be what happened here, but we'll see. And this is, like you said, this is a guy who had elite traits coming out of high school, but it hasn't worked out for him in college. But now he is at a premier program, and who knows? Maybe he has to step in at some point. So we'll find out. But Ari,